The morning air outside Rockefeller Plaza buzzed with anticipation. Crowds had gathered early, waving signs, clutching lattes, hoping to catch a glimpse of Meghan Markle on the Today Show. It wasn't just another celebrity interview. It was her first live appearance in over a year, her first since the Netflix documentary, Harry's explosive memoir, and the quiet but telling rift with the royal family. Inside, the atmosphere was anything but relaxed. Savannah Guthrie, known for her sharp intellect and disarming charm, was seated calmly at the interview desk, scanning her notes. She'd been in the game too long to be intimidated by star power. She'd interviewed world leaders, confronted presidents, and tackled crises head-on. A duchess didn't scare her. Producers counted down to live. Meghan adjusted the lapel of her ivory blazer one last time and flashed the camera her signature smile. Polished, controlled, purposeful. "Good morning," Savannah began smoothly. "We're joined today by someone whose journey has captivated the world, from Hollywood to the palace and beyond. Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, welcome." "Thank you, Savannah. It's lovely to be here," Meghan replied, her voice calm but with an undertone of caution. The first few minutes unfolded predictably. Talk of her charity work, her podcast, her children's milestones. But the shift came quickly. Savannah's voice remained pleasant, but her gaze sharpened. "Meghan, many people followed your Netflix series. Some found it deeply moving. Others, though, have raised concerns about the accuracy and intention behind it. What do you say to those who feel you're rewriting history?" Meghan blinked, caught off guard by the abrupt pivot. "Well, Savannah, I think when you've lived something, it's not rewriting, it's sharing your truth," she said, voice steady but cool. Savannah leaned in just slightly. "But doesn't your truth sometimes leave out the whole truth?" There were noticeable omissions, certain timelines, conflicting accounts. "I don't believe that's fair," Meghan said tightly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "We shared what we felt comfortable sharing. But when you're asking the public to trust you," Savannah pressed, "don't they deserve the full picture?" The tension on set became palpable. The background screens flickered as camera operators exchanged wary glances. Meghan crossed one leg over the other, her heel tapping once against the floor. "I think it's deeply unfair," Meghan began, "that people expect vulnerability and then weaponize it. And yet," Savannah interjected smoothly, "you've profited off that vulnerability, multi-million-dollar deals, documentaries, books. If it's painful, why keep spotlighting it?" Meghan's jaw clenched. She glanced toward her PR team just off camera, but Savannah wasn't finished. "Let's talk about the children," she said. "You and Prince Harry have said you want to protect their privacy. But you've given them royal titles, something associated with the institution you left behind. Isn't that contradictory?" Meghan's voice dropped slightly, warningly. "That's a complex subject," Savannah nodded. "It is, but the public sees the contradiction. You say you're out of the system, but you still benefit from its legacy." A murmur rippled through the control room. Viewers at home were riveted. Social media was already lighting up. "I came here to speak about Archewell and the causes we support," Meghan said, her expression frosty now. "Not to defend every decision I've made as a mother or a wife." Savannah's final question landed like a hammer. "Then why continue to tell your story if you're not open to scrutiny?" Meghan looked at her for a long, heavy beat. "Because if I don't tell it, someone else will twist it." The air snapped as the segment ended. As Meghan stood and walked off set without another word, Savannah remained seated, calmly flipping her notes closed, the hint of a smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. She knew that interview would make headlines before the day was done. By the time Meghan Markle's team reached the green room, the internet was already ablaze. Clips from the interview circulated within minutes, edited, slowed, and captioned with everything from "Queen Savannah" to "Meghan Meltdown Live." Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube had turned a tense conversation into a full-blown media wildfire. Hashtags like #SavannahUnfiltered, #TodayShowClash, and #Markle vs Guthrie began trending globally. Meghan sat down stiffly on the plush gray couch, ignoring the organic fruit platter laid out beside her. Her publicist paced nervously, phone glued to her ear, while a stylist tried to discreetly fix the crease forming on Meghan's blouse. But no one spoke directly to her. The energy was off. Something had gone wrong, and Meghan knew it. "She blindsided me," Meghan finally muttered, eyes fixed on the muted TV across the room, which ironically was now playing the Today Show replay on loop. "We agreed this was about my work, not tabloid trash." But deep down, she wasn't sure Savannah had actually broken any deal. No contract had been signed about the interview scope, just a few exchanged emails with vague guidelines. Meghan had expected respect. Instead, she'd been challenged. And publicly so. Meanwhile, back in the control room, Savannah Guthrie leaned back in her chair, earpiece still dangling from her shoulder. Her producer, Chris, approached slowly. "You good?" he asked cautiously. Savannah exhaled. "I'm fine." Wasn't expecting her to crack that fast. Chris chuckled. "You hit nerves. That last question, ice cold." Savannah didn't smile. She wasn't proud of humiliation, she was proud of truth. And she knew what the backlash would be. Meghan's fanbase was fierce and loyal. The palace sympathizers would cheer Savannah on. But the real win wasn't in who won the segment, it was that America was talking. Back in LA, Prince Harry was watching the interview from a private home office. His fists were clenched, knuckles pale. He'd been wary of this appearance. Meghan had insisted on doing it alone, thinking it would help reshape her image. But now, she looked ambushed, exposed. He immediately called her. "Are you okay?" he asked the second she picked up. Meghan's voice was low, drained. "No, that wasn't what we agreed on. We need to respond," he said. "Publicly, or not at all, but we can't let this sit." Within the hour, statements were drafted. First by Meghan's PR team, carefully worded, emphasizing misrepresentation and the importance of setting boundaries. But before it could be released, her inner circle debated strategy. Savannah came off like a journalist doing her job, one advisor said bluntly. "If you clap back too hard, you'll look defensive." Another countered, "If we don't respond, it looks like she won." As they argued, Savannah was already doing damage control of her own. Backstage with fellow anchor Hoda Kotb, she addressed the brewing controversy on a separate segment. "I think it's important that public figures be allowed to speak," Savannah said, her tone measured, "but also be willing to answer difficult questions. I've been on both sides of the table. It's never personal, it's about accountability." Some praised her, others accused her of media bullying. Hours later, Meghan posted a cryptic message to Instagram, a photo of a rose with the caption, "Even when I'm silent, I bloom." It garnered 1.3 million likes in 2 hours, and ignited another storm of debate. And just like that, what was supposed to be a 12-minute interview about charity turned into the biggest cultural flashpoint of the week. 2 days later, Meghan Markle was seated inside a private villa tucked in Montecito, barefoot in soft linen, but far from peace. The sunlight poured in from the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long golden lines across the tile. Yet the only thing glowing brighter than the room was her phone, still buzzing, still vibrating with fallout from the Today Show interview. Her team had gone quiet. Not gone, just cautious. Strategic silence. Meghan knew the signs. She'd seen it in Hollywood, she'd seen it in the palace. When the tides turned, people distanced themselves just enough to say later, "I wasn't involved." Prince Harry entered the room, holding a mug of herbal tea. He placed it gently beside her, kneeling down. "You don't have to say anything, Meg," he said softly. Not yet, but Meghan wasn't looking at him. She was watching a clip someone had just posted to Instagram, a remix of her icy stare during Savannah's final question, layered over dramatic music, with the caption, "When a Duchess meets a real queen." She turned the phone over with a cold sigh. It wasn't just the questions, she muttered. It was the tone. She wanted blood. Harry leaned forward, or maybe she just did her job. Meghan glanced at him, the sting of honesty landing harder than expected. "Whose side are you on?" He hesitated. "Yours, always. But maybe, we underestimated how tired people are of the polished version. Maybe they wanted to see something real." Meghan stood abruptly, walking toward the balcony. "Real? You think that wasn't real?" She snapped. "Do you have any idea what it takes to stay composed on live television when someone's slicing through your character in front of the world?" Harry stayed quiet. Down below, reporters had already begun staking out again, some perched behind parked SUVs, others with telephoto lenses peeking above hedges. The invasion never really ended, it just changed zip codes. That night, the final decision was made. Meghan would break her silence, not through a press release, not through a filtered photo, but through a personal video. One take, no edits, no music, just her. The next morning, the video dropped. Meghan, in a soft blue blouse, sitting in front of a window, spoke slowly. "I've always believed in transparency. But transparency doesn't mean standing trial. It doesn't mean being cornered on national television for the sake of ratings. What happened on the Today Show wasn't journalism, it was performance." She looked straight into the lens. "And I'm tired of being asked to be perfect. I'm not, I'm flawed, I'm human, I make decisions for my family, for my peace, and sometimes, those decisions are unpopular. But I won't apologize for protecting my truth." It was raw, unscripted, and it worked. Within hours, the video had 12 million views. The narrative began to shift again. Celebrities reposted it, activists applauded her vulnerability, even some critics admitted, it was her most genuine moment in years. Back at the Today Show, Savannah Guthrie watched the video alone in her office. She smiled faintly, not smugly, just knowingly. She finally said what people needed to hear, she whispered. And in that moment, Savannah didn't see herself as the villain of the story. She saw herself as the catalyst. Sometimes, it wasn't about who won the interview. It was about where the conversation went next. And this one, this messy, uncomfortable, painfully public one, had finally pushed Meghan out of the palace shadows and into something more powerful than image.